welcome to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and with me, as always, my wonderful co-host, James McClure.
Hey, everyone.
So today is Tuesday, November 26th, 2019, and as always, we are coming live from the Sirius Star System Studios here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I am so excited to be back because it has been 2 weeks, and I missed you guys so very much, as always, and yeah, man, it's been 2 weeks, but this week coming up is Thanksgiving, and I'm excited because I love Thanksgiving. It's time for gobble, gobble, gobbles, and you know what I like about Thanksgiving, James, is I like that, it's really about family. It's good. It's family. You got great food. If you're into football, they got football coming. Are you into football?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Lions always play. The Cowboys always play. It's always good stuff.
They're always the best teams get to play on Thanksgiving.
Well, no, these guys aren't the best teams this year. It's just always a tradition, There's a lot of bad teams actually playing this Thanksgiving. But, that's how it goes. But you know what? The one thing that I don't like about this holiday coming up is the materialism that surrounds holidays. I think here in America we have so gone away from the idea of what holidays are, and now they're all about buying stuff. And Black Friday is coming, and I think now there's Cyber Weekends and Green Mondays and Purple Dot Tuesdays and all sorts of things. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
There's lots of stuff, but you know what? I mean, we turn holidays from the important stuff of cherishing family, spending time, learning to understand each other, to hey, let's eat and drink and let's go out and buy stuff and get very expensive stuff at cheap prices. And I think that's got to change.
Yeah, I think some people are realizing they don't have to always go with society's expectations from a marketing point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, holidays are for you and for your family. And the subject for tonight, though, that we're discussing, you can feel more things during the holidays.
Absolutely.
Especially with family.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, we have been off 2 weeks. How have you been? What's been going on?
I've been working a lot in my regular daytime job, and I'm getting ready for the holidays. My son's coming into town with a granddaughter.
Oh, nice.
Got a big get-together with his in-laws. And
oh, nice. Are you going over there? Are they coming over?
Yeah, down in Coral Springs.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, they're
Coral
coming
Springs
down
is a nice area.
Yeah. Hope the weather holds up. It's been beautiful, especially today.
It has. It has been crazy.
This is winter in Florida. It's the best. We're really spoiled.
I know. Our windows are open even right now. The windows are open, and that's how it goes. So. But
what about you?
Mine has been really rough, to be honest with you. I had a horrible 2 weeks, and it's all perspective. But yeah, man, I threw out my back, as we knew 2 weeks ago, and then I tore my hamstring in the last softball tournament that we had, which was 2 weeks ago, and then I broke my tooth in half, and I got to pay for that now. And my AC motor, luckily we don't need the AC right now. That's why all the windows are open, because tomorrow morning I got to put a fan motor into my condenser unit. Then I caught a cold, and then I had to play softball playoffs, and I just choked. There was a couple opportunities where I had to really put our team up, and I just popped up in the air. It was just one of those weeks, or one of those couple.
Well, the cold is gone, right?
No, I mean, you could hear it. I'm still a little nasally. Like, I'm not contagious. I'm way past, because as a cold, you're always contagious the first 48 hours before and after the first symptoms. So in other words, the very first time you wake up and say, ooh, my throat's scratchy, or maybe I'm stuffy, but you're contagious 48 hours after that and 48 hours before that. So so those type of things. So, but yeah, other than that, things have changed, and you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But, all right, guys, so let's get into this week's topic, because this week's topic is all about divorce. And you know what? I had the honor and the privilege to talk to many people over the last couple of weeks to share their story with me and to kind of, just kind of tell me how their life has gone and how the challenges of divorce and, and what they've gone through, and share kind of on a personal, intimate side of them, something that a lot of times we don't get to hear from people. And what's sad is 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce nowadays, and most marriages last about 7 years. That's it's a big change from back in the old days. And what I've learned is divorce really brings out the ugly in people. It can get really messy for a lot of people. Not everybody, but it really does, because emotions run high.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were divorced, right? You've been divorced.
Right. Some time ago, and believe me, you feel things that you never thought you would feel, and it's part of the process that you have to go through. If that's truly what's going on, the divorce has been, it's in motion. You're gonna feel it, but again, it's something that does eventually pass. So we're here tonight to start talking about different ways to cope and what should we expect, or you want to talk about some statistics first?
Well, we'll get into statistics in a minute, but you know what? As I was saying, I got to talk to a lot of people, and what fascinated me about divorce and talking to these individuals, and what's funny, not everyone was able to talk to me about their story. Some people, and I completely respect that, some people, it was so painful for them that their emotions, even decades later, is still so raw that they couldn't even have a conversation with me without getting worked up. But what was fascinating to me is that how everyone's story is kind of similar but different in so many ways. I mean, you think divorce is, so like it's the same way by legal standards, but it's so different, and everyone had their own story. And one of the things that, like, I've never been divorced, so I don't know. James and all these other people had, and James is going to share a little bit of his story tonight. And I think it's important that people going through divorce and people who have gone through divorce kind of try to look at things in a different perspective, and I'm hoping that's what we're going to do with this show tonight. So why don't you give whatever you're comfortable with, you mind sharing a little bit about what you kind of went through?
Well, I could say one thing, that we knew it was coming, and so after about, I'd say 12 years or so, 11, we started both feeling it. It was almost like we were growing apart. So it was just this thing that we knew was coming, and then all of a sudden a couple of things happened, and it's like, okay, we're definitely gonna have to do this. We didn't really go through the counseling and things, and that part can also be hard, because you gotta truly have both sides willing to commit.
Absolutely.
I was, and I'm not saying it's the other person's fault. It wasn't my ex-wife's fault, but she just wasn't wanting to do that. So it's kind of how things work. I think it wakes up some of your probably dormant fears that you may not even realize you have. Like, mine was one of abandonment. I mean, I felt like left all alone, literally, and it hurt.
Wow.
Because I'd say when I was younger, a couple things happened in my childhood where I was actually abandoned. There were things that I went through. A lot of people, maybe some other day we can talk about these things, but it wasn't terrible, but you still feel it. So it's kind of like earning your stripes. There's certain things that are going to happen in your life, good and bad. So it does make you stronger. I know, like they say, the one thing that my father told me at that time, he goes, that which doesn't destroy you will surely make you stronger. That was the first one. And I thought, wow, this guy's a genius. The other was that time is the best cure.
Is it really? Because I think that maybe...
Good point. Good question.
Well, I mean, the thing is because I've talked to probably about 15 people, and some people, time was a healer to them. And some people, especially the people that wouldn't talk to me, because I could have probably talked to about maybe 10 to 15 more people that couldn't talk to me, time didn't heal.
Oh, yeah.
So, so what do you think the difference is, the reason why you were able to heal with time to compare to some people that weren't?
Well, I looked at it as if, okay, this is a new chapter, literally. I mean, you going into a new chapter, there's parts of you that are gonna, the memories, the experiences, the feelings, the reminders, the love songs, everything. It's always gonna be there. Yet you are truly going into a new phase of your life. So you can either use it as an opportunity to grow and to experience more fear because you're going to be doing new things. You're going to have to reach out to people and talk to them. New sports, new subjects, school, just all these things that you should be doing. This is a time where you can truly make the changes. It's kind of like a growing up, wake up call for your life course that you're on, without this person. But in my point, we had only one kid, and luckily I got the custody, and we had shared custody, but then she ended up moving further away out of state, so it kind of worked in my favor. And I would say for me, in my situation, it worked out great. I mean,
did it?
I'm glad, yes. All that I went through, it's truly made me who I am today.
And you're lucky on that perspective, because a lot of people, and especially some of the people that I talked to, it didn't work out, or as they say, in their favor. And really, I think that what happens in divorce is it becomes sometimes really ugly because emotions are so hurt. Because I think that when I talked to a lot of these people, the one thing that I noticed that was in common is everyone had this, everyone went into marriage naive. Because we're taught, depending on your gender and stuff, we're taught that, you're supposed to find that one person and be married and have children and have the dog or cat, have the white picket fence, and nothing's ever supposed to go wrong. And marriage is supposed to be easy if it's meant to be. And I think that, and that's what I noticed, is everyone said, you know what, Miss Raina, I was so naive going into the marriage because I really didn't pay attention to the red flags. I really didn't pay attention. I let a lot of things blow by because I was in love with this person.
Yeah.
And, and I didn't look at it, and I didn't mind it, because things that I thought were cute in the beginning now annoy me about the person. And one of the things that I noticed that you said is you were growing apart. And I talked to one individual that said, that said the same thing. We love each other very much. We're still friends, but we just grew apart. We wanted different things. At one time in our life, we had the same ideas, we had the same goals, we had this, but then I grew and she grew, but she grew a different way, and there's nothing wrong with it. We just were growing separate ways.
Yeah, I'd say, I was pretty young.
How old were you?
I thought I was old back then, 23.
Okay, yeah. And that is young.
Yeah, but to me, I felt like I was already, 30. Which now I realize 30 is just...
I'm 40. I'm 41, and I still feel like I'm still too young.
I'm just saying, maybe people are getting married too quickly, even nowadays. I know maybe there's some things that you need to do to really get serious, I think, before you decide to get married. It's a lot like a relationship. It's just a lot more things like property, and if you have children, and that whole commitment under God or under your society, your family. You got all these hooks that are in you.
I think that's a good point that you bring up, because even though we're not religious here, we still do talk about religion and spirituality, and I think what really is, it's based on your belief and what you're told to believe. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was raised in a Catholic family, and we're taught all these laws and restrictions and all these things, and I think that has a big thing to play into it, because you have these false ideas that have been implanted in your mind since you were a child, saying these are the way things have to be if you are to be successful, if you are to be loved, if you are to be going wherever in the world you're supposed to be going. These are the things you're supposed to do, and if you're not doing these things, because every single person I talked to said, you know what, Miss Raina, I felt like I failed. I felt like I failed myself. I felt like I failed my partner. I felt like I failed if they had kids, and it was like, and that was the turmoil, because it was the destruction of these walls of false ideas that have been planted by society.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, what's real just kind of breaks apart, like your ideas and your expectations, and I mean, it's literally felt like the rug is being pulled out, and you're on your own. I mean, I don't care your friends, who you're talking to, and all. you're gonna go through these. You're the only one that truly feels it. It's your half that's gone.
Yeah.
So it felt like a death.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's some sadness there, and it does. But it's also the legal side of things and the expectations and all of this that you're feeling, but you still really gotta learn to take care of yourself.
And that's important,
Yeah.
because how many of us, we either self-destruct or we become so angry at the other person, even if it's our fault. And I really don't, I really truly believe, and talking to everybody and watching, just being in the field that I am, I believe that everyone, both sides, have something to do with divorce, no matter what it is. Because people, like, what I've noticed is that people tend to only see and blame the other side. And one of the individuals that I was talking to was talking about that very same thing. They're like, what, it's like a death and you have to grieve it. And she's like, what, it's hard because you're looking at this life that you wanted for yourself, that you built for yourself, that you thought that was always going to be there. And when that comes crumbling down, it's hard to breathe. It's like you're starting all over from scratch, but you don't know where you're going or what you're going.
And you got mixed emotions.
Yes.
It is very similar to a death. Whatever. When someone dies, you got denial. You believe. You got anger. Whatever those 4 or 5 things. Believe me, you feel those because you do care about the person. But a lot of you may not, and it's a mix. Like one day you'll say, "Oh, I still love this person." Yeah. Always, and then you go, "Oh, no, I never did love them," and you're trying to explain everything in your head for something that's kind of already happened. When something breaks, I mean, people have gotten back together after a divorce.
Yes.
Sometimes that's kind of a cool thing, I think, is that would be possibly a true soulmate. You could drift away for 8 or 10 years, and then you hook back up. I don't know. Everybody's got a different story, but I think we still feel the same thing.
Yeah.
We go through that same stuff. All of us.
We're human.
Yeah.
We're human. We are meant to experience. We're meant to be emotional. And now, as we're evolving into an emotional state of consciousness, and that we have to be in touch with this. And if we don't, I think one of the biggest, and that's why I think a lot of people who get divorced or who struggle with relationships, why we turn to drugs and drinking and partying and doing all these things, because it's a coping mechanism for you not releasing what's really going on inside. And I think that if we're looking at ourselves and we're saying, hey, I'm going through a tough time, I'm just speaking from relationship wise. I've gone through a lot of tough relationships, but I've never gone through a divorce, so I understand that that's different in some ways. But still, at the same time, when you've gone through a horrible relationship and you've gone through the separation of it, and your ideas are still there, because even in a relationship, we still think, oh, this person's the one for me. And I've done that. We've all done that, and we all get ahead of ourselves. And we really don't. And I think one of the biggest things that we need to start looking at is just take a step back. And now I'm at a point where if I'm going to date someone, I'm going to be friends with them for a while first. And because why? Because now I want them to know me. I want to get to know them. Maybe there are some things that I will see. I always say people look at themselves in life with beer goggles. And the reason why I say that is because we do. We all think that we're really nice people. We want to ignore what our problems are. We really, if I ask people, are you difficult to deal with, blah, blah, and everyone's going to say, no, I'm kind of laid back. Very few people will be honest with them. And it's like, we all have this idea of what we think we are and what the world is and who these people are, but we really ignore the truth of things.
Yeah.
And I think that if we become friends first and we start to get to know people on a different basis without expectations,
right,
I think that kind of helps us lead up. Yeah.
It's not all romance.
No.
The honeymoon's over pretty quick.
And that's a scary side. The honeymoon phase is a dangerous side. As much as it feels like we're in cloud 9, that is a
Don't
very.
you wish?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, like the movies. God, and it could last forever. Sometimes you do see couples that they're very much in love.
Yes, yes.
And that's really cool. And I think sometimes you got to know, if you do go through this divorce, there may be a chance you'll find the right one the next time, if there is a right one. I believe whoever you do hook up with as a wife or a relationship or a friend, there's a reason that you met this person on a soul level.
Yes, absolutely.
When you cross over and get close, there's possibly casual encounters, but you'll know if you're feeling like this person is right.
Well,
there's definitely something going on that's gonna change your life for the good, for the worse.
Yes.
Or it's gonna make you, whether you want to or not, it's going to make you truly look at yourself.
Well, that's what relationships are for.
Yes, it's nothing but a mirror.
People don't get that. Like, people do not understand that. And this is something we all have to understand, is our relationships are predestined. Who you're supposed to be with and all the people that come in and out, those are fate. Those are predestined. And in every single relationship you go through is not to put you in a place of destruction, but to teach you who you are and to teach you lessons, so that because every single person that I talk to, and even throughout my work, everyone goes into things naive. And the reason how we grow is by learning and by experiencing. If we don't experience these things, then we don't grow. But instead we get mad and we get angry and we blame and we point the finger at the other person.
Yeah, because the first thing, when you're hurt, there's two things. Either you run away or you get mad and want to yell at them or hurt them back. And this is what's hard with divorces. We all know the kids get caught in the middle or whatever. Yes. Someone be fighting over something stupid like a pillow or something. Yes.
I mean,
I want all four pillows, and it's like, no, I want two, and you get two. And we turn into children and 3-year-olds. They say, on an emotional level, when you are going through a breakup, it could be girlfriend or boyfriend. We turn into the
I think we always
emotional, emotionally, we're like children, from 3 to 4 years old.
But think about this, James.
We can be.
Think about this. But aren't we always like that? Think about what children do. Children are naive. They don't look at what's going on. They react emotionally. If they like something, they go after it. There's no thought process there. And when it comes to relationships, how are we different? We do the same thing, right? We see someone we like, and we just go gaga over them. We ignore all the signs, even when the red flags are waving at us, and the air horns are going on. We ignore it, and then we jump into a relationship so quickly because we're so afraid to be alone, because we don't like ourselves, and or we think that, oh, we're 30 now, we're 40 now, oh, I should be married, I'm a failure, all this stuff. And it's like, how are we different than what children do?
The way we treat each other. I think as you get older, hopefully, I'm just saying, you're going to feel all the emotions that a kid would feel.
Absolutely.
But you, as an adult, you got to learn, don't cross that line of hitting, throwing things. I know we do.
We are
but
so emotional.
You got to work. That's where, to deal with the and cope with the stress of divorce. That's what we're talking about. What would you do if you've gone through a bad breakup?
I have.
Did you reach out to your friends? Did you have a psychologist? Did you read self-help books?
When I was younger, I would go out and party. I would hit the bars with my friends and be like, But you know what? Also, there was only a couple. I've been through a lot of abusive relationships, and I've been through a lot of relationships that cheated on me. Even though I'm open, I'm polyamorous, I do all that. I just and it took me a minute to realize that it's not personal. What people are doing has nothing to do with me. And it really takes a lot of work on yourself to realize that, because we want to take it personally, because our ideas are saying, James, this person told me that they love me. This person told me that they would never cheat on me. This person and we say all these ideas that we latch onto. But when the person cheats on you, it has nothing to do with you. It's about them. And when the person is mean to you, it's not about you, it's about them. And you know what, it's hard for a lot of people to understand that, because when I've been beat up and thrown my head through walls and stuff like that, hey, you know what, I took it personally, because why are you hurting me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to grow into a person to realize that, you know what, it had nothing to do with me. Even though I took the physical brunt of it, I had nothing to do with it. And that is a huge step, because that's one of the reasons why I don't rush into relationships, because every single person that I talked to and when I did interviews said that I rushed into it, James, and I didn't listen to everything that was going on.
Well, that's the point right there. You said one thing. You said it has nothing to do with me. It does. You're half of that equation.
Yeah.
But you're the one that made the decision to go into this relationship. You know.
Yes.
So you do have to take responsibility.
Yes.
That's where it starts. The recovery and healing starts from realizing you're in control.
Yes.
You are.
Yes. Yes.
Things in your life may change, but your emotions and yourself, you're in control. This is your life, and there's ways to get through what you're going through.
Well, and it's true. You know, you have to. One of the things that I realized is that, like, you know what, I when you were talking about that we get childish and we fight over everything, you know, a couple of the couples that I talked to said, you know what, we split things up amicably. We realized, like, one of my friends said, you know what, I realized that, you know, I have this as a hobby. And there's no point in my partner or my ex-partner having this, because they don't do it anymore. And, you know, they do this as a hobby and I don't do that. So why should I get half of that? And they realized, and one of the things that I really liked about this interview that I did was that they said, you know what, I made more money, and I realized, because I still care for this person, I just know we're just not compatible anymore, that they're struggling. You know what? I didn't mind. Take the TV, take this, take that, because I know that you don't have the money to cover that stuff. You know, and it gets to the point where I think a lot of people forget about that. We were talking about the other day, I know we got about 2 minutes before we have to take a break, but I know that we were talking about the other day that, like, a lot of men get mad that they have to give up half their assets to women when, you know, a divorce. But I don't think a lot of people realize that, you know what, if the wife or the woman is, or whoever, even the men nowadays, are at home taking care of the house, cooking, cleaning all the time, taking the kids, running them, all that stuff, that is a full-time job that they're not getting paid for, that they have no experience. They haven't worked for maybe 10 years, however long you've been married. You've been doing all the work. They've solely relied on you, and now they're being thrown out of the system. So how can they not, why, like, and that's what I don't get about people that get mad. So this person has done all this work and you expect them not to get something for all the work. Well, you worked and you got paid for it. And I think it was really nice how this particular couple, you know, said, you know what, I get that side, and I get that, you know, they're not making as much as me, and just kind of, you know, and did it really, really nice. And I think
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
was. Good. It was really nice to hear.
I've seen people that can do things like that. And they can even go maybe out to dinner or something, even though they're divorced or going through a divorce. They're still treating each other as adults.
Yeah.
You know.
No, absolutely.
We'll have to talk about how you can cope as you're going through these things.
Yeah, we will. Oh, you know what, guys, we're going to take a break right now. We'll be right back after these messages from the Life of Raina.
A message from the Life of Raina. We live in a world faced with many tough challenges. Our lives become chaotic and filled with disaster ever so quickly, most of the time before we even realize. Our issues beat down our mental mindset, and an imbalance of emotions become prevalent. The Life of Raina is dedicated to helping people on the deepest spiritual level. Miss Raina, the creator of Transcendental Development and Growth, works on your core issues and finds the solutions which allow you to break free from the emotional bondages of life, helping you achieve the life you've always wanted to live. Isn't it time that you lived life for you? Call the Life of Raina, 561-846-2190, and schedule your appointment today. That's 561-846-2190. Or email thelifeofraina@icloud.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. If you're just joining us, you are listening to Transcendental Transformation with Miss Raina and James. And what we are talking about is divorce. And just before the break, we were talking about kind of like how we fight over our material possessions and money and different things like that. And we were sharing a story about one of the couples that I interviewed about how, you know, they actually did it amicably, and how they were able through, because they weren't so emotional, that they were able to split up their belongings kind of nicely between each other. And it'd be nice if everyone was able to do
Don't
that,
you
right?
wish? Yeah. Every situation is different. There can be other things going on, with a person mentally.
Yes.
Some people can be pretty mixed up, and sometimes the things can come out when they are going through a stressful situation,
Yes.
like a divorce or anything where tempers may fly and you're hurt.
Absolutely.
We all have dark shadows and things, and sometimes as you get to know this person, maybe the true beast can come out. They can be downright ugly to each other.
It can be.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there's so much pressure, and you got this other person, and you're more.
Yeah.
They say anger is a cry for help.
Well, I think that in our emotions, and we're going to get into a couple stats and some men rights in a little bit, and that because James did some research on that, and I really want to touch on men going through divorce as well, because I know a lot of times people have come up to me and said, what, Miss Raina, what I went through, it sucks. I was a good dad, and I instantly got labeled, and I had to prove all this other stuff because the woman. But we'll get into that in a second. But I think when it comes to something so difficult in our life, I think because we're not taught how to deal with who we are, it's this, like we said earlier, it's just this attack of, it's like almost like a defensive mechanism that I have to attack you, and I have to make sure that I'm bigger and badder than you in order so that I don't lose.
It's weird.
Kind of like I'm already losing everything, so I gotta kind of salvage everything in order for me to,
I would say this, man. Your ego just is out there on the stage all of a sudden, like it takes over, but there's that part of you inside your heart that truly does know what's going on. It's got your back, and I say that over and over, but it's gonna have to wake up too. It's gonna be that quiet voice that is patient. It's always there.
Yeah. So let's get into some stats, because I know that your job for this week was all the stats. As we said earlier, what was the percentage of that ended in divorce right now?
Around 40 to 50.
40 to 50%.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Within 7 years.
That's a lot. And we were looking up some stats that the number of married couple in the U.S. from 1960 was 40 million married couples, and now it's up to 61 million married couples in the United States as of 2018.
Because there's more people in the U.S., but the rate of marriage, the number of people getting married, I heard, and that's where I wasn't able to find truly. It's sometimes hard to find true numbers. It can be jagged. It looks like less people are getting married now with the younger generation. They're sort of learning, like, let's live together, let's get to know each other. Let's not always just, I don't want to really use the word sell out, but let's be different. Let's be alternative.
Yeah.
Common law marriage, a lot of people have done that. I don't know. I think even if it's a marriage or a breakup, it's still, you're still going to go through a lot of the same thing.
Yes. Well, it's
just part of life.
It is.
You got a 50-50 chance, of something working.
But people in today, we have such a distorted look at relationships now, and it's becoming worse. It looks to me like, if I look at the statistics and I only see that a standard marriage lasts 7 years. I've even had family members that, when we were talking about this earlier, that were fighting beforehand, and they were like, it was a constant fight, but yet they still got married, and they were fighting like cats and dogs even before they got married, and they knew that they weren't the right ones, but they still did it anyways. And some marriages last a day, some marriages last a week, and it's got to be like, why are you really doing this?
Right.
Like, are you doing this because society tells you that at a certain age you have to? Are you doing it because you're lonely? Are you doing it because you have this idea of things that you want, and it doesn't matter who you with? Because I even have a family member that's with somebody that is totally horrible for them, but because they are so they're so lonely inside, and they don't want to be alone, that they are willing to just be with anybody rather than be with someone that actually treats them well.
Yeah, and I think people, say you are, starting to get married, you got all the pressure, get the gowns, the punch, the guests, the thank you cards, and whatever, everything lined up, and the pressure of society, your family, your aunts and uncles, tradition, church, whoever it is, even if it's a smaller alternative type of marriage, you still got these expectations that society has put down on you, and all that pressure comes along. And say you do have some arguments and all, and you think, oh, this person, but that is a red flag. But most of us, I'm saying all of us probably, you say, that's okay, this will get better. Yes. I can work with this. This person, so and so, this, that, maybe he snores a little, that's okay, I can work with this. Or, God forbid, I can help this person change and grow. He'll get better or she'll get better. We'll overlook that. This person will grow up or they'll improve. Yes. And they won't, because it's you. This is your life. All you can do is be there, to support them. And
I think that's one of the things that we have to change our perspective, is because we may like someone and they may not be a good fit for us at all, but we think that because we like them and we're infatuated with them, that we're going to change certain things about them. And I'm sorry, but people are people, and you have to learn to accept them for who they are. And if you can't accept the things that you think you're going to change on them, then you know what, I think that's one. I actually think that's arrogant on the person who is trying to change the person, because I think that, who are you? The way I look at things as a spirit guide is, everyone's here doing their thing for the lessons that they need to do in order for them to grow. Now, if someone comes in and say, well, James, I'm going to change you because I know better than you, and I want to be with you, and I'm going to change things about you. Well, that sounds arrogant and selfish to me, because now I'm stopping someone from being who they are, and they're that personality for a reason.
Yeah.
And I had several people that I talked to that were said that they had certain things, like maybe they were OCD, maybe they had certain ways about them, they had certain things that they did, but I thought that if they were with me, that I could show them that there was a better way.
Yeah, that's where if I love them enough, they'll change. Or because they love me so much, they'll change because I want them to. I want them to help me, You need to change so that we'll be happier.
Yeah.
It's kind of like put the pressure on someone to do some things that, changing is, of course, we all finally figure it out. It's up to you. You got to be motivated from the inside out.
Yes.
Sometimes a partner can help you change, but in reality, you got to want to. And
yes.
People have improved a lot by getting married. Lots of things have blossomed. We build entire institutions, but at the same time, it's a 50-50 thing. What do you do when all of a sudden, this person put his fist through the wall just because, the coffee was cold, or and you didn't know? That's a red flag right there.
And that's scary.
Just right there. And, we were just dating. Yeah, he just did that once. I don't know.
No. If a woman or a guy gets that upset, but while you're dating them and they flip out, some people are harmless and they're just reactive and stuff like that, but a lot of times it's not. And actually, one of the people that I interviewed had that. She said the guy, when I first met him, was a perfect gentleman. He opened the door for me, he bought dinner, he did all this other stuff. If there was something, he would. And then all of a sudden, about 3 months I think it was 3 months, I could be wrong, into the relationship, all of a sudden the temper started to come out. Why aren't you doing this? I told you to do this, blah. And then the anger started to get out. And it's like, it's like, I understand. I get angry at times, especially in softball tournaments, playoffs. I get very, and that. But, when you have these red flags, why you have to pay attention to that and say, hey, as much as I like this person, this is something that I might not be able to control. And if I can't control this, will this be harmful to me, either on an emotional level or a physical level.
Like I had someone that I dated, and we were together probably 2.5 years or so. She's a little younger and all, but we had a good compatibility. But at first, I realized she would make up lies. Like usually they were white lies, and then I realized she would lie to her parents and different things, her friends over the phone, and I realized that little cute thing that I thought was kind of cute at first.
Yes.
It became the main reason that we just, bam, it's over. It didn't break up too hard, but it still hurt. Because anytime you do go through a breakup, it reminds you of the first one.
Yes.
The first hit.
the first stab in the heart. What was Cheryl Crow's song? The first cut is always the deepest.
Yeah, the first cut is.
But you know what, and that's something that we have to look at. We're gonna get into men's rights here because I want to change it a little bit, because one of the interviews that I did was from someone that I've known for a little while now, and great person and everything, and and he told me this story about what he went through, and saying that one day everything seemed fine, and then one day all of a sudden I came home, the kids were gone, my wife was gone, and all the stuff and the thing was gone, and I called her and she's like, oh, I need a break. And I come to find out that this person decided that they're going to move with the kids all the way across country without ever telling him, and for no reason at all. And it's like, what? And this person was like, wait, whoa, not with my kids. I'm a great dad, and there's no reason you're going to take my kids away from me.
That can hurt.
It can.
Yeah.
And I know that, the courts lean towards women most of the time because there are reasons for that. A lot of guys don't want anything to do with it. But it's not that way in every case. And there are a lot of good dads out there, a lot of good guys out there. And it sucks because this person went through that. This person had to prove themselves, and it's sad because he's like, I had to prove that she was incompetent, and it hurt me because now I'm making her sound and my children's mother sound really bad, but I had to prove that because they're looking at me like, oh, like, why are you here? You're a guy. You don't want the kids. You don't want it. Yeah, you're going to be free.
Yeah. The judicial system seems to just put us in boxes, It's almost like a check mark, and then they say, well, this is the way it should be. And every situation's different, and you do have to get your ducks in a row.
It is.
If anything else, it will help you organize your life if you're going through a divorce. In other words, if you do split things up, you have a chance to get rid of the stuff that you don't like.
Yeah, but this is bigger. But this is bigger.
It's a lot bigger.
You said something. You had something about the 50 state, like
there's I think 11 states that are community property laws. In other words, everything is split 50-50.
Okay.
It's just automatic. The judicial system.
Is Florida one of those states?
Florida is not. It's equitable distribution.
Equitable distribution.
It means it's usually up to the judge and to the different things. In that case, it can be more fair, and there's something where they said, I think in both cases. Now, I'm not saying I agree or not, but the prenuptial agreements. I would say someone that's got a lot of money, they should probably do that.
Absolutely. But people take offense to that.
I know.
They're like, what, you don't trust me? It's like, no, it's not that. It's like, I worked my butt off. And I'm honest with people. If I ever got married, there would be a prenup. Because if I worked my butt off for something, and all of a sudden you come in and say, like, whatever happens, then you take away half my stuff and destroy, I look at that, and for anybody that works hard, it can be messy.
Yeah, and this is where you have to kind of step back. And I agree that I would be in favor of that, even though deep inside I say it's not right, but legally it is the right thing to do, I believe, because, you got to be neutral when you're putting a contract together. And this is legally for your protection. It's almost like insurance.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to break up, but it just means that you're both agreeing now, we're going into this thing, we're equal, we're going to stay equal.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think the power, these things in any kind of relationship, you have the power struggles and all. But for men, I think sometimes it's hard because, people can make different claims like, the kids were scared, I was scared.
And the courts listen to that too.
Right.
Because there are a lot of domestic abuse cases.
There is.
And it usually is guys versus girls. And in other words, like the guys being abusive towards the girl. But a lot of times there are cases where girls cry wolf, and there are cases where it's the opposite of, and
Yeah.
you know, and when men go to court and say she beat on me, they get laughed at. Because it's like, no, you're a man. Like, what are you complaining about? It's like, no, but abuse is abuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's hard because it's really, I view it like this. It's still a relationship. It's just because you got all this legal stuff going on, it becomes more complex because you got to deal with the realities of physical objects.
Yeah.
Locations of if you have one child, two child, three child,
Yeah.
and you got to really think of them. You got to think what's best for both.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going through a divorce, you don't want to have to win. You should come out both equally. You know,
but it's not like
it's
that.
not a war. That's what I mean.
But the fact is it's not like that. And for men, it's not, because you know, I mean, if you're a good dad and you're a good guy, and you know, say like you have a wife, or and that's not, and you know, and it's not, because you have to prove. So it's almost like how women, even today, like women get called, you know, rape, and we get laughed at. I mean, women are afraid to say that they've been sexually abused because of the way the country reacts, and the way, oh, it's your fault, your skirt's too short, you let him on, you did this, blah blah, oh, this person's a good athlete, they don't deserve this, blah. And that it's almost the same thing for men when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Especially with children. Children are tough because, you know, naturally you think that the wife, you know, just throughout history, the women are more nurturing. Usually the men aren't. In a lot of cases, the men don't want the kids. The men don't, you know, hey, you know, you take them. You're more nurturing. You do all the mom stuff and everything like that, and a lot. But not. There are men out there that are sensitive. There are men out there that are very nurturing, and sometimes even more than the moms. And you know, these guys should have the same rights. But even in those cases, even if they get custody, don't have the same rights.
Mm-hmm. I know. And that's where, I guess, you know, where the lawyer comes in. I mean, but my feeling sometimes on that is that sometimes the lawyers will make things even worse. I think really what comes down to is, as you're getting to know the person and you're married, you should talk about, you know, if we ever did split up, this is the way it should be. I don't know. Sometimes you got to talk about tough things, and for men, it's, I don't know what to say that could improve your chances.
Well,
you know,
guys, it's not that, but there are stuff like, you know, like there are. You can go to lawyers. You can go to, like, there's groups out there. Like, I'm even on there's men's rights websites and all sorts of things, that counseling, different groups that that men that have gone through it, along with lawyers, along with people that do all this stuff. And so there are options out there. And one of the things that I suggest, because obviously I'm not a man, and I'm never going to go through that. I'm not divorced either, so I haven't gone through the divorce aspect. But one of my suggestions is, because I think it is so, you know, every case is different, and even though there may be similar laws and that I think that everything is so, you know, individually tuned towards each divorce, that I think that the best thing is to get someone that's knowledgeable of it, get support, to there's a lot of men's rights activist places that are out there that are trying to create this, that have the resources that'll tell you, hey, you know, each state is different. You know, sometimes county laws are different too. So you really have to depend on what state you're in, where you're at, kind of the area, and kind of what you're going through.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it. And it's sad, because one of the best things that I was told by someone that was going through a really bad divorce was that document everything. And I love that, because this person said, you know what, I documented the phone calls, I documented the text messages, I saved everything, emails, if there was things going on, I made sure that I had physical proof of what was going on, because men and even women too, if you're in a situation that maybe you may not be believed or whatever and stuff, or it may be, and that document, because the only way you're going to show, otherwise it turns into he said she said. And you're not going to win. There's no thing, if there's physical proof of this person acting this way, your case is gone. And no matter how good of a dad you are or how good of a mom you are, if the other person can prove over he said she said, unfortunately that's,
I know. Yeah, I agree 100%, and that's what I had to do. I had to document what was going on. Like basically it was desertion, and then she comes back. So I had to, and then also there was a point where we had joint custody. She decided to take him and move out of state. The divorce was still being, worked on. So basically, my attorney at the time said, I'm not telling you this, but you need to leave, go get your son and bring him right back home. So I did that. And it turned out well, because I did end up getting full custody.
Good.
I did want joint custody, but she wanted to move somewhere else, and she thought it would just work out. She thought, okay, I'm the mother. He's the man. He doesn't need to have a child. He can go be a father somewhere else. Not for me. This was, it's like the other half of me, had decided to leave. Well, I had my son, who was the other half.
Absolutely.
In other words, I'm just here by myself, and I'm not going to lose who I am. So luckily it was not that complex having one child, and to document what was going on, what had transpired over a few months, and different things like that. And it's just, as I'm sitting here talking, it's been years, and it feels like lifetimes ago. I know I said earlier, time is the best cure, and it's like they say, this too shall pass. I mean, you've got to know this is in your life for a reason. This is here for you to grow. The universe gives us challenges. There's things that come along that are not fun, that are not easy, and it's as serious as life and death.
It is.
And so, what would you say if you had to cope with this? What would you say to someone if they came to you and said, I'm going through this divorce and I need someone to talk to, I don't know what to do? Well, I mean, what would the first thing you'd be?
I wouldn't say anything. I would listen. I would listen, because
Good point.
That's one of the things I teach all my students and everything is listen. You don't try to be the all-knowing person, the all, inspirational person, because people going through a hard time don't really care what you have to say. As cold as that sounds, they don't care. They want you to hear them. And you could say the most inspirational things, and they may say, oh, yeah, that's great. But they're so caught up in their emotions, they don't care, and they don't listen, and they won't remember. If you ask them tomorrow, do you remember what I said? They probably would tell you no, and that maybe they might listen to something. But it's about listening, because I personally, you could tell me your story, James. All these people told me their story, and I can empathize with them because I've been in some bad relationships, some bad breakups, but I haven't had to go the legal route. I don't have kids, so these people that have dealt things with kids and had fighting over with kids and everything like that, I don't understand. I'm not a man, so I don't know what it's like to be a good dad and lose and then have to fight through the court systems and prove myself as a guy. I don't know this stuff. And so, but what was so inspirational about this is these people trusted me, and all I did was listen. And you could hear in their voice when they started out that, it was like you could hear them become, like, their fluid of emotion became, from just talking, then it got angry, then it came down. But then by the end of it, you could hear that just by me listening to them, they process things.
They're still processing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's still there. You may not feel it day to day, but when you start having to talk about it, then some of those feelings will come back, but they're not nearly, hopefully, as strong as they were back then.
No. One thing I want to bring up really quick, and I'm sorry to cut you off, James, is the one thing I want to bring up is during a couple of the interviews, I've had men say to me that, and even women too, and that, or I should have said men and women, I've had both, say to me that, my spouse cheated on me, and and when someone cheats and we catch them cheating, and especially if they're at the person's house and them, and that I've had a couple of people say, I went over to their house. I went after these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you right now, as painful and as angry as you can get, don't do that. And the reason why is not because, one, if you ever watch, I do a lot of research on a lot of stuff, and I watch a lot of stories about people, and some of people get killed because they attack people. People get badly hurt. You may make a decision that will change your life. You may end up in jail for the rest of your life. You may kill someone. You may hurt someone, all over your emotions. And I get it. You feel wronged. You feel robbed. You feel cheated on. I get that. I really, really do. But don't ever ruin your life because of someone else's mistakes. That is so hard and so difficult, and I get it. When you're in the heat of the moment, you want to go over there and beat the guy up or beat the girl up and that, but please, I advise you not to do that. Just take a step back, go over to a friend's house, blow off the rage with them, but do not go after someone, because in the court systems, if you show aggression, even if you're in the right, and that the court systems are going to frown upon that. And then if you have kids, that's going to hurt your side of you pleading, saying, hey, I'm the safer side to be with.
Yeah, that's for certain. Yeah, and that's probably a common thing that guys may end up doing. Like,
well, girls do it. Girls do it too.
And you get in a fight, and all of a sudden it's documented that you had this fight.
You drove over there.
Yeah. So, in other words, it's kind of like you got a sore spot. Don't pick at it.
Yeah.
Don't make it worse. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do when you're in the heat of the moment. You just gotta somehow detach yourself and realize this is a day. Lots going on right now.
Yes.
But it can pass. It will pass.
Well, it's hard, but I mean,
it does.
It hurts to know. Like, I've been cheated on mostly every one of my relationships, and I'm open. I'm polyamorous. I'm into swinging. I'm into a lot of different things, and I'm open. I'm all about free love, but at the same time, people are gonna do what they want to do, and regardless of the fact is that you can't stop it. And once it's done, it's done. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I'm not going to ruin my life, as painful as it is. I am not going to mess up my life on the reaction of me going just to her, because it's not about what that person did. It's about what your spouse did, or that, we like to blame the other person. We like to say, oh, well, it's that person. No, it's your spouse that did that, or it's your partner that did that. Mm-hmm. It's their fault, not the other person's fault. And for us to go and attack, it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't change the fact of anything. And I think that we have to,
It's really a difficult thing, So we're talking about coping. So you're saying, reaching out and speaking to people. I will agree that when I went through that, the best thing for me was to talk to someone. I mean, it was like taking a load off. It wasn't like I'm asking for advice. It's just I had to get this out,
Counseling?
Yeah, just a little,
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Just don't close yourself up. I mean, if anything else, there's your true friends will be there. Just don't turn into a crybaby everywhere. Find someone that you can rely on and just say, can we talk a little? Or a counselor, a psychologist, psychiatrist.
Absolutely.
Nowadays you got online stuff. I mean,
absolutely.
Chat rooms and.
But all right, guys, that is our time. We are out of time, and it was a pretty good show. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. I know you guys missed us because we've been gone for 2 weeks, right, James?
Yeah. It went fast. Like, just this whole hour went really fast.
It does. And next week's show is going to be about the mysteries of life. We're going to talk about about mysteries of life, and we're going to get into some kind of taboo topics, if you want to say that. So make sure you guys tune in. Don't forget to like us on our Facebook at facebook.com/Transcendental Transformation. We have our Periscope as Transcendental Transformation as well. Don't forget to hit us up on Twitch at twitch.tv/Transcendental Transform 13. And as always, don't always remember to believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.